Welcome. I'm Mark the Mic Man, and on today's show, we're going to be talking about some microphones for miking up a drum set and how we should mic the drum set. We're going to get started right away with our overhead mics. Today, we're going to be using the Shure SM81 LCs. We're going to be using those for our overheads, so that'll be the meat of the sound of the drum. Our SM81s, we have a switchable low-pass filter that can cut out some of the low frequencies if we want to avoid that. We also have a switchable pad here. If you twist this ring, we can do 10 decibels of gain reduction if we so choose. The SM81 is a small diaphragm condenser mic, so it will require phantom power, so you'll have to turn that on a preamp. We're going to be using these for our overheads, and we're going to be using them in an XY formation so that we can get a stereo image of the drum set. The overheads are going to be the largest part of our sound because that's going to be what most of this drum sound comes from. Our spot mics will be a little bit less than that. So the SM81 is going to be our overhead. We already have one mounted back there, and we are going to be using no wind filter or anything. We're just going to be using the mic on the stand. Our next mic is going to be our kick drum microphone. Today, we are going to be using the AKG D112. This is a large diaphragm dynamic microphone that's pretty common for kick drums, and it's really good in the studio. We're going to be mounting that in the port, and it won't require phantom power because it is a dynamic microphone. And for our snare drum and our floor tom, we're going to be using SM57s. A very, very standard microphone. It's known a lot for its, common, really good durability, and it has a really good frequency response, very even. It's a very tough microphone, so it's, good for drums just in case your drummer's a little wild. It is a small diaphragm dynamic microphone, so we won't have to worry about any phantom power for it. We'll just be able to put it right on the drum, and it should go really well. So just an overview here. We're going to be using our overhead SM81, a small diaphragm condenser. Remember the phantom power for that one. And we are going to be using the -10 dB pad on that because our drums are going to be pretty loud. And on our bass drum, we're going to be using our AKG D112. And we'll be putting that right in the porthole. I'll show you how we're going to mic it up in a bit. And on our snare drum and our floor tom, we're going to be using the SM57. All right, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start by putting our overhead mic up. We already have one up there, so we're going to go ahead and move on over to the drum set and install it in. So if we look up here, we already have our one SM81. So we're going to put our next one up here, and we're going to make sure they're in a crisscross pattern with the diaphragms even. So the front of the mic should be crisscrossing right like that and line up perfectly. The idea here is to create this stereo image of the drum set by having this one be our left side and this one being our right, kind of flipping the image. It provides a nice clear stereo image of the entire drum set. Our next mic we're going to install is our AKG D112. Now with this bass drum, we have a whole port in the front of the kick drum. That helps us get a lot more of the attack sound of the bass drum. Otherwise, we get a lot more of this resonant head side, making a lot of noise. For today, we're just going to be putting our mic right in the center of the port, just about even with the front of the head. You can get a lot more attack sound if you stick the mic farther in the drum, or you can get a lot more of the boom of the kick drum if you move it farther back. It's all up to preference, but we're going to go right in the middle and try to get a nice even sound. We'll go ahead and hook this one up too. So that'll be our kick drum mic. we're going to hook up our snare drum next. We've got our SM57 for this one, so we'll be moving over to the snare drum. And we're just going to put it right here on the top of the snare drum. And our goal is to get a 45-degree angle with the area of attack. So if our drummer is hitting right in the center of the head, we're going to want to aim the mic right to the center. And we'll just go ahead and plug this one in too. So we've got that 45-degree angle aiming right at the center of the head, and we should be able to pick up a nice attack from that. If you want to add more mics, you can also add a mic to the underside of the snare drum to get a lot more of the buzz from that. But for now, we're just going to use the one on top to get the attack sound. All right, and now we're going to go on to our floor tom. We're using our other SM57 for this one, and we're going to go ahead and put it in a similar position. Since we want a lot of the attack from the floor tom, we're going to put it at a 45-degree angle, aiming right at the center. Now with our mic positions, we're all doing these relatively close. Close miking provides a lot more of the actual sound of the drum and a lot less of the tone of the room. Since, we don't exactly know what this room sounds like, we want to go with a nice close mic. With our overheads up here, we have them relatively low because we don't want a lot of the room tone. We want a lot of the more focused drum sound. If we were to raise these, it would provide a lot more of the room tone, a lot more of the reverberation from the room, perhaps, and that could give us a lot more of an open sound. But with our snare drum, we're doing a close mic, as we have our SM57 pretty close to the head at 45, and same with our floor tom. We have a very close angle. And with our bass drum, we have it a little bit farther back, but it's still right up in front of the drum. We want that close, tight drum sound is what we're going for today. All right, I'm going to go ahead and play a couple of these just real quick so you can kind of hear what they sound like. I'll start with the snare drum, and then I'll just play a couple notes so you can kind of hear what it sounds like all mic'd up. So if you can hear that, it's kind of a really powerful attack. You get a lot of the hit from it, and you get a little bit of that ring there because we have it so close to the outside of the head. You can either EQ that out, or we can put a little muffling on the snare drum, but that's something you can work on later. We also have our floor tom here. I'll do a couple of hits for that one too. As you can hear, there's a lot of rumble from that one, and it's a very direct attack sound. And then we also have our kick drum. As you can hear, there's a lot of thump from that one, and it's a very powerful mic. It's all due to that large diaphragm condenser being able to capture a lot of the movement of air. I'm going to go ahead and play the whole kit for a little bit so you can kind of get a full image of everything that's going on here. So there we go. We've gone through the whole basics of setting up mics. And remember, we have our SM81 small diaphragm condensers. Do not forget that you need phantom power for that one. We have our SM57s for our floor tom and for our snare drum. And we have our AKG D112 for our bass drum. Now, that's all we've got for today. I'll see you next time. I'm Mark the Mic Man.